Welcome everyone to today's webinar on the topic of IoT data management and analytics, challenges, solutions, and trends. My name is Knut Lasselüt. I'm the CEO here at IoT Analytics, and I will guide you through today's webinar. Before we begin, I want to do a few housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded and made available a few days after the webinar. There will be a moderated Q&A at the end of the session. You can submit your questions at any time. You can use this Q&A button that you should be able to see at the bottom of your screen. All of the attendees are currently muted, so you do not have the option to talk. But if you want to chat, there's a separate chat window that you can use to chat to the panelists. And lastly, should you have any issues seeing or hearing us, please use that chat box, send us a message, and we will then get back to you and resolve this. Great, let's get started. Here at IoT Analytics, we strive to be on top of the latest IoT trends, and we have no dedicated report on the topic of IoT data management and analytics. Which is why we thought we'll do a webinar, because we have talked about this quite a lot in past pieces of research. And we did realize in a discussion we had with Bosch that they have also done quite a lot of work on this topic, and we decided to do a webinar together, and this is what we're doing today. The agenda of this webinar is, apart from the introduction, which I'll run through quickly in a second, we have 4 different parts. The first part is about the state of the IoT platforms and analytics. The third one is a presentation from Bosch on like a Bosch, from hardware technology to the connected world. In the fourth element, we will have data management in action, a live demo of customer example of data management solution from Bosch in action. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session. Quick introduction of today's speakers. So I just introduced myself. I'm the CEO and founder of IoT Analytics. I'm joined today by my colleague Misha Rykov, who is our lead analyst for AI and analytics. From the Bosch side, we have Lukas Klink. He's the digital sales manager of Bosch IoT Insights at Bosch Software Innovations. And we have Paul Scheider. He's the product owner of the Bosch IoT Insights tool at Bosch Software Innovations. Very brief intro for those of you who have never heard of IoT Analytics or who don't know what we do. We are a market research firm that specifically focuses on IoT and Industry 4.0. We're not a financial analyst or analyst firm. We are particularly focused on market research and market analysis. We produce market reports and have our own research services on 6 different topics: IoT software, smart city, industrial IoT, IoT connectivity, and emerging technologies. We have sort of a bunch of customers, and on the right-hand side, you can see a couple of reports that we recently produced. You can see that on our website. And maybe quickly run through the upcoming reports. We will have a report on IoT startups very soon, a large IoT platform end-user satisfaction study, industrial connectivity. We're currently working on a piece of 5G, and all of this will come out in the next couple of months. Good. State of the IoT platforms and analytics is divided into 3 parts. The first part being an overview of that, and then we will look at the user side and the trends. As a starting point, today we are seeing quite a few examples of successful industrial IoT projects. So I'm sure some of you have heard or seen the ThyssenKrupp elevator examples. Last time I checked, they had, I think, about 170,000 elevators connected via IoT. And they have a predictive maintenance service on top of that. That's a pretty prominent case. Another one that I find quite interesting is the Heller Machinery case, where they're selling equipment as a service using IoT data. Ponce is an agriculture machinery manufacturer, and they have optimized vehicle health and other data with IoT. And lastly, an example that is close to my heart because we are actually quite close to where this is happening, The Hamburg port is tracking ships, containers, bridges, all that kind of things with a smart IoT solution. These are all interesting and fairly widely marketed IoT solutions. And one of the interesting things is that when you look at it today, they all use some form of an IoT platform. And IoT platform has many different characteristics, but ThyssenKrupp uses Microsoft Azure, Hella uses Siemens MindSphere, Ponce uses Bosch, and the port in Hamburg uses a piece of the SAP Leonardo stack. And that is really something which is, I would say, almost fascinating, because if you take the Google trend graph that for IoT platforms, you can see that this topic was essentially non-existent until 2013, 2014. And since then, it's had a steady rise, and you now see continued interest. And the reason that is, you can see on the right-hand side, IoT platforms play an important role in the overall stack. They connect essentially anything from hardware to the applications. And when you talk to people that are using these platforms, you realize that they say, well, it's quicker and cheaper to do this than actually building all of this by myself. It makes it simpler for people who are not as deep into the topic. And the whole topic of where do I do it, edge, cloud, all of that gets simplified. So you see this rise of the IoT platforms, and we've covered this since 2015 from a market research point of view. And we first had 260 platform providers we counted. This went all the way up to about 500 last year. We haven't concluded our research on this this year. We think we'll probably be at 600. We still see new startups in the space coming up all the time. It's pretty crazy, actually. Just listing a few of the ones that have a more of an industrial focus. There's no, it's just a selection, but there's really quite a lot. And this is an area that it has continued interest and plays a continuously important role. If you look at the stack and you look at kind of what's in it, we see 6 different groups of platform services, even though the first one is more of an infrastructure, cloud backend, industrial data connectivity, anything that is telecoms, which is more around billing the connection and things like that, device management, which is about over-the-air updates and controlling firmware, application enablement, which is about making sure that people can actually build something with this platform. And that all leads into advanced analytics, all the way to AI. And today we're going to cover this chunk. So the bottom of this, as well as the top of this. Everybody looks at it somewhat differently. This is sort of our consensus. And everybody says, yeah, this fits with us, this fits with us. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're taking as the starting point today. So breaking that a little bit more down, these elements that are just highlighted, if you look at what's happening is, and you just take AWS and Microsoft Azure, which are undisputed at the forefront of doing some of the IoT services and have seen a lot of interest for their solutions in the last years. Both of them in 2015 came out with a general IoT platform. AWS was slightly quicker than Microsoft. But if you look at it generally from a data management and analytics point of view, and data management analytics here is subdivided into general data management, event management, visualization tools, tailored analytics, edge analytics, digital twin, and AI machine learning. All of them have developed, some sooner, some later, different tools. This is going on all the way until now, essentially. So you see that the bunch of this data management analytics is actually fairly recent, and the services launched and used by people is also very recent. This is not necessarily complete. There's other tools that were announced previously, and there's obviously add-ons that are not part of the core platform, but it gives you a good overview that there are quite a lot of different things people can use for data management and analytics. So at this point, we switch over to the user view, and I'll have my colleague Misha Rykov explain his view on this. I'm just gonna, yeah, Misha, can you hear us? Give me 1 second, I need to unmute him.
Yeah, so now we will start our data management overview with the benefits. And I'm sorry, the slides are changing a bit slower, so it will take a bit. Yeah, so let us look at the main benefits of good data management and analytics. Cost reduction is still #1 benefit, and be it the use case of predictive maintenance or be it the use case of asset optimization, cost reduction is still #1 benefit that the end user get. Safety and better resource allocations are, of course, also really important benefits, and together with them come such things as compliance, operational efficiency, improved health of portfolio, informed culture, which leads to the overall drive of digitalization of the industrial assets and so on. Then, if we look at how data management and analytics are implemented from the point of view of the end user or data scientist, we have seen 9 key considerations, and we have divided them into 3 categories. And the typical flow is you start with data management itself, then you dive into analytics, and then you dive into some use case analytics. In this case, we show the example of predictive maintenance. So the main questions that a decision maker has to answer start with what are the data security requirements, and then how do I process my data, and then what are the requirements on the data itself, then what level of visualization do I need. Yes, so this is the core, this is the data management core from which you can then move to what type of analytics do I need to, and then what analytics method do I use, be it machine learning or just simple statistics. And then if you look at the last 3 here, for predictive analytics, then you deep dive into which strategy you want to choose, be it you want to find a remaining useful life, or just look at at which probability your asset is going to fail, and how you deal with data imbalances and so on. Now let's deep dive into what are the data requirements, as these are what we believe are the main, is the most important part of what data management is about. So for a good model, data needs to be relevant, sufficient, and of high quality. And if we speak about IoT data in particular, for ensuring the data is relevant, you have to use domain expertise a lot, and then it sometimes needs answering the questions like, do I have to retrofit my sensors to get more data? What kind of asset data do I need to get from the asset? Like, is it vibration data? Is it temperature data? Is it the combination of both? And then, of course, what kind of historical data do I have to combine my data with, to get relevant data? Then, if we speak about sufficiency, then in case of IoT, there are usually too much data, not too little data. And then the question is, how do you ensure that you can work, or your data scientists can work with that high level of abundance of data? And when we speak about quality of data, it means eliminating noise and data imbalances. For instance, in case of predictive maintenance, this would be ensuring that you have enough of failure data in your data set. Now, let's look into the main trends. We have found 5 of them. These are, everything is becoming predictive. So predictive analytics is leading the show now. Then a revival of basic statistics and visualization, which means that in most cases, users still like simple stats. And of course, cloud computing, increasing use of machine learning and AI and digital twins. When we look at 4 types of analytics, there are descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. They are categorized depending on what kind of question they answer. Then predictive analytics is that answers the question, what is going to happen in the future? Predictive maintenance would be the biggest use case of usage of predictive analytics in IoT in this case. Here as an IoT example, you can see the chart when the remaining useful life is predicting for a machine. And if we look at the visualizations, here we have actually a data point that general dashboard and visualization is the second largest use case for which end users use IoT platforms at the moment, behind general process optimization. And here on the right side, you can see how actually powerful visualizations, even with simplest dashboards, are in IoT. You can build for fleet tracking. You can combine dashboards for speed, for fuel, and to the map. You can visualize the whole assets and factory with the use of it. So in IoT now and in the future, visualizations are going to only grow as a trend. And now I hand over back to Knut for a summary. Thank you.
Good. Great, thank you, Misha. So just to summarize what we just discussed in terms of research presented today. First of all, IoT platforms have become a key unifying element of IoT solutions. We discussed 4 such solutions. There are close to 600 platforms now. 7 different groups of services are highlighted because they are relevant for the webinar today. Leading cloud vendors have led the development in the last 2 years. We discussed AWS and Microsoft. Cost reduction is the main benefit of good data management and analytics. We discussed 9 considerations and 5 overarching trends. And with that, we want to go a little bit more into what does it mean on a practical side, and we'll hand over to the guys from Bosch. I'm handing it over to Lukas Klink, who is at Bosch. And Lukas, you should be able to speak now, and you have control over the slides as well. In the meantime, I just want to remind you that please, if you have any questions, type them in the Q&A. We will try to answer them at the end of the session.
Thank you for handing over. Hi, everyone. This is Lukas of Bosch Software Innovations. Now we get into deep dive like a Bosch. Bosch is commonly known as one of the key suppliers for the car industry and one of the biggest provider of, for example, power tools. But Bosch is changing from a hardware manufacturer to a hardware technology company. Bosch is doing now IoT, the Internet of Things. We started as a pretty conservative company, but we're now transforming to a connected world. So IoT is the core strategy of Bosch. And if you haven't seen it, check out our new spot with Sean on YouTube. You're gonna love this video, and it totally reflects where Bosch is heading at. Anyway, we want to get a deep dive into IoT solutions, and every IoT solution needs a technical basis, and that's what we are here for today. The technical basis of IoT solutions that we build is the Bosch IoT suite. In the past, we always had to start from scratch when we were building IoT solutions. With the Bosch IoT suite, we leverage the IoT knowledge within Bosch and connect various devices in the 4 core domains: mobility solutions, consumer goods, industry and energy, and building technology. With the Bosch IoT suite, we provide our customers and partners internally and externally with a comprehensive software platform for the IoT. The platform consists of various cloud services, software packages, all aiming to help IoT developers create, implement, and also maintain IoT applications in a fast, easy, and secure way. So to sum it up, the Bosch IoT suite is a comprehensive toolbox, especially for IoT developers. But what are the elements of the Bosch IoT suite? How can I utilize them? How can I use the Bosch IoT suite? I will not go into every detail of the Bosch IoT suite because today we want to have a close look on data management. But nevertheless, I want to sharpen your senses for our platform. If you think of this picture as an IoT solution, you always would have to start with the device, which is illustrated on the bottom of this picture. It really doesn't matter which device you connect. It could be anything between a camera, a driller, or also washing machine and so on. But as an end user, you want to have data of the device in the cloud, and you want to work with this data online. And in order to get this data in the cloud, you always need a connecting point. In the case of the Bosch IoT suite, the Bosch IoT Hub is this connecting point. The hub handles various protocols and serves as a translator for all the other displayed services on this slide. Bosch IoT Things can then use the received data and turn the data into information. This information is our digital twin, so to say. Means that from this point on, you can see the status of your device in real time at any place of the world. But we already heard in most IoT solutions, this is of course not enough. So this is why you would have now the option, or you would now have several options to build on top. So we offer the full stack from device and software update management. In our case, it would be the IoT Manager and IoT rollouts. To data management, in our case, Bosch IoT Insights. The data management provides the basis for optimizing your connected devices and functions. And moreover, it has essential to develop new services and solutions. So you can literally use the service to process data generated by any device. But Paul will go into more details later. And of course, you don't want everybody to get access to your device, and you do not want everybody to manage your device. For this reason, we use Bosch IoT permissions. And last but not least, the analytics service allows you to detect anomalies within your data set. But enough said about the Bosch IoT suite. Let's take a closer look on Bosch IoT Insights. We first want to talk about where Bosch IoT Insights does come from and what Bosch IoT Insights is capable of. As you can see on this illustration, Bosch IT Insights started as SFDE in 2013 with a first project in the automotive sector in connecting over 100,000 devices. So growing with more and more projects, we established SFDE as a cloud service. And from this day on, customers were able to access their device from almost all over the world. And also in 2017, we celebrated our first non-automotive customer. And I can tell you, this was a great success for us and a big step towards the market. As of October 2018, Bosch IT Insights is now a member, as you have seen, of the Bosch IoT Suite family, with now with more over 30 customer projects managing over 2.5 terabyte and receiving data from over 4 million devices. So those projects are not only realized in EMEA, those projects are realized in over 10 different countries like Russia, Japan, North America, of course, Germany, China, and so on. And we see that the demand is increasing and more companies see the pain in not having their data managed appropriately. So this is why we gathered feedback from the doers, the one that are in the real projects, the one who know how data management works. And what they came up with is the following. So what you can see, they mainly struggled in 4 areas: technology, data privacy and quality, and IoT challenges, or we named it as IoT challenges in general. So from the technology perspective, for example, many existing protocols out there need to be implemented and need to be configured, which means, as we heard earlier, a lot of work resulting in higher costs and to face this challenge. And moreover, they struggled with real-time requirements because customers wanted actually to have their data in real time, but when doing projects, they noticed that sometimes real-time data is not available, or it is not even necessary for their use case. Since May 2018, we all know how much effort it costs to implement a smooth GDPR process within an organization. And this is also a key challenge that doers had been struggling with. Because when you have the responsibility for managing GDPR regulations, you obviously want to have a control over the data you're receiving and working with. The third big challenge area is IoT challenges in general. A lot of doers were trying to handle connectivity between the device and the cloud on their own until they found out that existing sensors, for example, are not even connected to anything. So, and also they were scared to migrate into the cloud. As you can see, that is what makes it really hard to handle IoT data management. Last feedback, what was that they had too little data when it comes to data quality to do big data. So there you have it. 4 big challenges in IoT data management. The one or other of you probably already came across those challenges, but don't be scared. Other companies did also. What we have here is a slide with 5 famous companies, and I wanted to go through it quickly. This is Ford, Hyundai, Honda, BMW, and Porsche. All of them had to recall their cars because of various reasons. And as you can see, this happens more or less in a regular basis. So, and if they would have had managed their data over the cloud in the first place, there would probably have been a chance to avoid those recalls. And you probably are wondering, how we would prevent this with Bosch IoT Insights. And Paul right next to me can't wait anymore to give you guys an explanation on the technical side. So,
yeah, thank you, Lucas. And could you click further, please? Yeah, okay. So, well, you usually have a lot of use cases around in the real world, and all of them have their use case. Okay, I have different protocols. I connect this to my backend, and what's then? I have the payload, which is usually in some proprietary format or maybe some standardized format. Who knows? You cannot handle that. So what we establish is a pipeline underneath, similar to Azure Data Factory. It doesn't matter what kind of payload you send to us. We accept everything, and then we allow the customer to include his code, his own processing logic into his pipeline to restructure the data into a JSON format so that at the end he can create queries and aggregate the data together to visualize it. And on top of that, we of course provide additional feature sets. Data querying, of course, what I just mentioned, exporting the data in a few different formats so that he can maybe work with his own tool sets. A master data management, which is what we figured out from our experience, main key point. You just don't need only the data, the payload that you receive from your devices. You need also master information like what kind of version was this? When was it received? Maybe which kind of vendor was this? And so on. User administration to invite others to your project space and handle the rights, of course. Security, support, and of course, on top, professional service. If you don't know what to do or come to a point where you say, guys, I need help, we will help you with that. Lucas?
doesn't work now.
Ah, okay. And as Lucas mentioned, since we are coming more from the automotive domain, you see a big sign here of kind of data that we currently handle. But as you also see, we are now in many other domains like smart home, smart city, and retails, and increasing there more and more. And actually, if I would look at it now, it would be like 50-50 or even more non-automotive than automotive cases. Oh, the slides are a little bit slow. Okay. And to give you a good sentence from one of our customers, which we asked, okay, what did we do for you? Could you explain that in one sentence? And he said to us, thanks to the clear presentation of my machine data on the dashboard, our customer service can quickly identify what needs to be looked at. This is one example. As I just mentioned, it was from the Holmer Maschinenbau GmbH, agriculture sector. We also have projects in the automotive case. In this case, we selected for another example, the connected validation, where it is the point to optimize brake systems. And another one would be Ponce, in this case off-highway, where the customer wants to understand how his machine is being used out in the field and how often it has malfunctions, what are the problems, and how can I decrease the time. And last but not least, one of our older projects with the English government, Move UK, where we want, together with Bosch and Jaguar and Land Rover, to analyze and optimize the behavior of self-driving cars inside of the city. And this is also the project that I would like to show you in a live demo. So, 1 second, I have to take over the screen. As you see now, this is the project start page, which the customer designed by himself. I'm not only a normal user, so I cannot modify that, but I will show this in another project. As you see, several data sets have been collected over the last 2.5 years. And Goal of the project, as I just mentioned, was, okay, I need to optimize my sensors for automated driving inside of the city. What are the problems out there? Based on a few examples, I will show you how the processing pipeline that I just talked beforehand works. You see here, in this case, we just retrieve zip files, and if I would unpack or download them, that's just binary data at the end. The customer provides his processing logic, decodes this incoming binary data, and this is then stored as JSON. Images, traffic sign recognition, surround events, and other informations, which you then later can use to visualize in dashboards. In this case, it's only 7 cars, as you can see, and only 40,000 files have been collected over the 2 years, but still it's 400 GB of data. You can then visualize this information, knowing, okay, where the cars that were driving around in the London city, what have they been doing there? And then on top of this, you can build your use cases. For example, that one, where the customer analyzes the behavior of his radar system inside of the London city to understand, okay, when are the cases when the radar system is getting lost or detects invalid signs or recognize the car in front of me and then loses it again, as you see here on the screen. And based on this information, the vendor can optimize his product for real-time use cases. Another example that I would like to show you is this one here. Here we have a video file, and the use case is very simple. I have a driver assistance systems which breaks in emergency situations. And now I can analyze if the driver brakes very hard and the system does not, why? Usually you don't know, but with all information about the field, I see here what was the reason why the driver brake and the system not. Well, easy. On the street there were bumpers and the driver's assistance system did not detect them. So afterwards, after they detect this malfunction behavior, they implemented and extended the firmware, and now the detection works. And coming back to a more, let's say, easier use case, this is one of our employees who is managing his smart home with the same solution on top. He is collecting his water consumption over his flat and for his, as a landlord. He is collecting his gas consumption, and this is all editable, as you can see here, and modifiable by him. Also, he's collecting his power statistics and, of course, his last trip to Scotland with his mobile home. Done with the same solution. And with this, I would finish my short live introduction into the system and come back to the Q&A session to Lena. No? Did I miss one part?
No, that's
Sorry.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. We will start with the Q&A shortly. 1 second, please. Okay, so we'll start with the Q&A. We've already received quite a few questions, and we will be answering most of them, or trying to answer most of them. There's a bunch of questions specific to Bosch, so maybe we start with that, as we just saw the fresh demo here. So let me start with the first question, which says, is Bosch IoT Cloud a competitor to AWS and Azure? And I think we've had this question in various formats. Not sure who's the right person, Lucas, Paul, who wants to answer this.
Well, it depends on the use case. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. But we both work together with AWS and Azure to provide combination of solutions. So we have common customers where we base our solution on top of the Microsoft infrastructure, and sometimes it's the other way around. That's really depends on the project and the customer and the use case behind it. So I would say sometimes we are competitors, but most cases not.
Yeah, and I can also say from my side that many companies use more than one platform. It's not necessarily only one. It's different components put together. The second question on that is why Huawei only in China? Because I think you mentioned that it said on one of your slides that you're working with Huawei.
Well, I can answer that. Well, question back, what would be the other option? Azure. If you ask Microsoft, they tell you not to use Azure in China. So that's their own recommendation to not use their system. The same goes for AWS. And the only other thing that is available there would be Alibaba. And well, if you look at their slides and their technology, most of it is very outdated and not really available. So the only option left is Huawei, which is also not the, well, best solution coming back from a political point, but it's the only option left for us.
Good. There's another question, and we'll continue with a couple of Bosch specific ones and then zoom out to the more generic ones. Can one use IoT Bosch solution to manage Bosch as well as other manufacturer devices, for example, ABB, KUKA, Schneider Electric, and so on?
Yes, of course.
Yep.
I guess that's a very simple answer.
Simple answer.
Yeah. There is a more specific question to last mile connectivity. How is Bosch providing last mile connectivity to devices? Are you partners with telecommunication companies directly, or do you go via intermediaries like Jasper?
I don't get this question. Last mile communication in my terms of sentence is usually a term which we use in internet connectivity to the end customer. Don't know what this means in combination with business partners.
Okay, in that specific case, if the person who asked this wants to perhaps clarify, we can pick that up again. Good. There's a lot of Bosch questions here. How is Bosch managing pricing? Are these fixed price projects, or do you have a model support multiple price plans like prepaid, postpaid, plan based on service usage? Well, I guess this is a question for Lucas, right?
Yeah, right. So when it comes to the services only, not for a whole project, we have a free starter and standard plan, whereas the standard plan is pay as you grow, and the starter plan is, so to say, fixed in constraints. Yeah, I will not go into the details of the pricings, but they're all available on the Bosch IT Suite. And as I said, there's also a free version available. So if you guys want to try it out, just go on Bosch IT Suite, and there you have the chance to.
Another question reads, thank you. Another question reads, can you talk a little bit more about IoT data stored in the cloud versus in-house? And how do you justify the security level of cloud storage? Obviously, security is an extremely sensitive topic. So Paul, what's your answer to that?
Well, a lot of customers are coming from that point are usually saying, okay, I want to store my data locally. I get that from a security kind of perspective. It's somehow, let's say, not a real security problem. It's more a trust problem. So if you look at it, you usually want to provide your IoT data to your employees and also to your customers. So it must be available worldwide. And from a technology point of perspective, it doesn't matter if you create a server in your building or a server somewhere else. It's still available in the internet. The other way or another way around. The problem is later or more around, ask yourself, can you provide a server in your own basement, literally speaking, which is secure, which you throw out in the World Wide Web, and then give access to your customers? If you're a small company, usually no. If you're a big company, then yes. And in this case, we can, of course, provide an on-premise installation of our services.
Good. There is a question which I don't know if this can be answered very easily. It's not necessarily related to Bosch. Is there an IoT analytics platform which features AI filters in the data collecting process in order to minimize the data noise? This is a very specific question, so I guess I personally cannot answer this. I don't know if
well,
Misha, you've seen a solution on that. Paul, if you want to, you seem like you want to answer that one.
Yeah, we have the IoT Analytics service on top of our services, which actually does or goes into this direction. Of course, it depends on the use case, what you want to minimize on noise here. Solution connectivity changes. This is well, we would need more details to clarify what the noise actually is here. Is it just a noise like saying, okay, temperature, sensor misbehavior, or noise in kind of terms of GPS, position problems? It really depends.
Good. The next question is it looks more like 5 questions at once. So let me try to pick out one that is. So could you clarify if you view the Internet of Things becoming a commoditized solution? I guess that's the first question. That obviously is very broad because the Internet of Things has a lot of different elements, and I think if I can take a shot at that one, I think you need to look at different technologies. Some of the hardware is certainly much more commoditized than some of the software. If you look at IoT software IoT platforms, I think there are certainly specific nuances, and we actually have a report on IoT platforms coming out in 2 weeks on exactly this. What are the difference between different providers? And you see there are still quite substantial differences. But at the end of the day, these platforms aim to do similar things. So I think over time, these platforms more or less solve the same issues. Some better in some verticals as in other verticals, but I think there is a certain level of commoditization with the platforms, if that's what the question is aimed at, versus not. But at the end of the day, things like doing data management well in analytics, there's still some differentiation, I guess. Another question for Bosch: does Bosch Software Innovations do all software development and support and operation of the IoT platform by their own? Or are you considering software implementation and support and operation partners?
Well, it depends. We have our own cloud system. In this case, we do the operations from Bosch Insights, from Bosch employees. If you come to our services hosted on Azure, on AWS, we usually tend to partner together with Azure or AWS. Does this answer the question? I would ask.
We hope so. Are there any shop floor use cases using the Bosch? I mean, today we talked a lot about vehicles. Are there any shop floor cases using the Bosch platform?
Yes, there are.
Yeah, there are. There were just.
Do you have any examples?
I would ask Lucas if I can mention a customer name here, but
not yet. No.
Yeah.
Okay. I can say I attended the Bosch conference a couple of months ago, and there were some showcases. So I know this is happening.
It is happening, of course. Yeah. We just can't talk about it for now.
Yeah. Good. The next question is, I guess, more a question to us here at IoT Analytics. What is the global IoT platform market estimation, in the sense how much companies will spend in the following period? And so we have, obviously, here at IoT Analytics have a model for these platforms. We monitor the 600, and we have an estimation behind how much each of these companies actually make in terms of revenue. And we will update that later this year, that estimation. But the overall market for these platforms, in our view, the way we define it, is probably, and I don't have the exact numbers here, is somewhere between $3 and $5 billion right now. And I think if you look on our website, you'll find more exact numbers. The question then is, how much will companies spend in the following period? This is growing pretty rapidly, and if you just look at the companies, that some of the leading companies, they're growing somewhere between 30 and 100% in terms of their annual revenue. So you can see that companies are spending a lot. On a per company basis, I can say that I've heard of cases where companies spend very little. They use a free option and do a little bit, all the way up to several millions. And there are some deals that are north of $2-5 million a year, but those are not the majority. There's another question on Bosch. Is there a more detailed tutorial on how to use the Bosch IoT Insights service?
Yes, we have both. We have tutorials and getting started for Bosch IoT Insights, but not only for Bosch IoT Insights, of course, also for the other services, all available online. But you're guys gonna get the link afterwards in the follow-up email, all on the Bosch IoT Suite.
Yeah. Good. I'm not sure that I personally understand the question, but I'll pose it to you. What would you consider using open data to avoid looking for recordings of false warnings in urban environments? If not, what are the constraints from your side? Is this something that you can answer?
Would you considering using open data to avoid looking at recordings of false warning urban environment? Wow, very specific question. Not sure how to answer that. What is open data to you?
Yeah, maybe the person can send a follow-up email. Otherwise, I mean, if you can send an email definitely to webinar@iotanalytics.com, and if there are any open questions, we will forward that to the people who were on the call today. But we still have a few minutes left, so I will continue going through some of your questions, and they keep coming in. So this is great. Is it possible to feed the data from Bosch IoT Things / Digital Twin to Bosch Analytics, and if yes, how?
From Bosch IoT Things to Bosch Analytics, no. Currently, you will have to go to Bosch IoT Insights and then to Bosch IoT Analytics. There is currently no implementation or not the concept to go from Bosch IoT Things directly to Bosch IoT Analytics.
So you need to go through the data management service, IoT Insights.
So it's a yes, but not directly. Can we use Bosch IoT solutions as a backend? I guess this is more of a question of backend as in cloud hosting. That's what I would assume this means.
Yes. All our services and are basically all API based on REST API level, and everything you see on top is just the UI. You can create your own UI or integrate our services into your own backend or your own solution, of course.
The person actually clarified, I mean, can I call Bosch IoT APIs to calculate something and then show it on my own dashboard?
Yes.
Okay. the data fed into Insights? Is it directly from device or hub?
Both. It depends on the use case. Some customers are using the hub to feed the data to us. Some are using a direct connectivity where just dump in the data. Some are just uploading it manually as a file.
Yeah.
All ways are possible in this case. Of course, based on the use case, we usually give a recommendation, but that depends on the use case.
Another question is from 600 IoT platform vendors. How many have complete building blocks? This is extremely difficult to answer because everybody claims they can do it all. And I can tell you, we've on our side tried to navigate the jungle as best as we could. And even then it's difficult because you use the same name and mean something else. I would say the following. What they can all do is they can all ingest data from different devices in some kind of modular form, and they can all let you do something with it. And I guess a thing like a dashboard is almost always part of it. But there are differences, and there are certainly out of the 600, there's certainly about 30 to 40, which are pretty complete if you look at it. And maybe one other comment is also, you saw that we discussed that the number is growing to 600. But that doesn't mean that they all have a similarly successful. Like what we also do see is that there is a concentration happening in the market, that the top vendors are being considered way more often than some of the smaller vendors, and that the market share is concentrating with the top 10, top 20 companies. And we'll talk about that in the report coming out later in the year. Good. Going back to Bosch, what about IoT devices? I assume Bosch delivers the end-to-end solution, including the sensors. Do you also support integrating with other vendor devices with standard interfaces support? I think we had a similar question earlier, and you said yes. I guess with standard interfaces support, the question would be, what would be the standard interfaces?
Well, we have some standard interfaces and APIs available where we support different protocol levels, but coming back to your question, the example that I just showed in the live demo with UK, there is actually another supplier providing the device inside of the car. So it's not Bosch here. In this case, it's a smaller German company which just sends and feeds in the data. So yes, we support devices from other manufacturers, and also we deliver end-to-end solution, but not only.
Yeah, and there was another follow-up from somebody, if you have a partner program for third-party developers.
Not that I know of.
This is a no to that question.
Okay. We earlier had a question on last mile connectivity, and the person has specified saying what he means is basic internet connectivity is not good enough, not enough reliable, secure for commercial deployments. There are better standards like LTE, NB-IoT, or even private 5G networks. Based on your response, I believe that's not your focus area at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes, that's not our focus areas, but there are other Bosch divisions who are focusing on that. We are focusing on the backend solution here.
Well, I can definitely say that I know I attended Hanover Fair, the large industrial fair this year, and Bosch was the only company with their own 5G network at the fair. So that is certainly a big topic for Bosch.
Yeah. Bosch is broad, so there are a lot of divisions handling different topics.
Good. I think we have 1 minute left, so I'll try to. We still could go through another dozen of open questions, but I'll answer them as they came in. Somebody asked, we have several variables being collected from the equipment. Oh no, that is, I guess it's follow up. I need to reconnect. Sorry, this is for me is incomprehensible because the person asked several things. This is a pretty technical question. Imagine a company which produces IT-enabled products. Should there be a unique global ID, the global thing ID defined as per master data by this company for its products to enable future use cases, for example, for software updates, or is MEC ID sufficient? What do you recommend?
I would not recommend a Mac ID to be sufficient. Actually, from technical point, I would recommend a UUID, but in real-time use cases, most vendors tend to use some internal device IDs, which they just sum up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. And then afterwards they complain, oh, we don't know what ID this was or what device this was. We usually recommend some really, at least in the company, global identifying ID that they use, and recommend a UUID or something similar technically. But in the realistic life case, they tend to use something very simplistic, and that's then up to the customer to decide. We support both.
Great. Great. Unfortunately, we're out of time. There was one question from a guy called Eric. I won't mention his last name here, but he's also sent an email already before. If you're still on, Eric, I will get back to you via email shortly. I think you had a very lengthy question. Other than that, unfortunately, we're out of time. We can't take any more questions. Feel free to send them to webinar@iot-analytics.com if you have anything else. I'm happy to forward them to the Bosch guys if they're Bosch specific. Otherwise, the recording, as discussed earlier, will be made available soon, and you'll get an email. And I would be very pleased if you could give us some feedback on the webinar, if you liked it or how to make it better in the future. You will get an email for that shortly, probably tomorrow, that will ask for your feedback. Thank you very much. It's been fun from our side. We hope you enjoyed it, and wish you a fruitful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.